you can have the perfect niche on Etsy. You can design something so good it stops your ideal buyer mid-scroll. They might even click in and think, oh my gosh, I love this. But if they don't hit add to cart, none of that matters. Because here's the thing no one tells you. You can get seen, you can get loved, and yes, those are arguably the heaviest lift in my opinion. But if your listing isn't built to actually sell, you may be leaving money and your momentum on the table. Getting sold is the final nudge, the subtle spark that can turn curiosity into commitment. And in today's video, we're making sure your Etsy listings don't just attract, but are in the best position to convert. This is your first time here, welcome. My name is Mandy. I run a handmade business since 2017 and discovered print on demand in 2022. Since then, I've scaled to more than $500,000 in sales, all without touching a single shipping box. This video is part of a 5-part series where I'm walking you through the exact framework I use to grow a top 1% Etsy shop using print on demand, so that you can start or grow yours with a little more confidence and a little less overwhelm. So far in this series, we've covered how to get your listings seen by choosing profitable niches and using simple SEO that Etsy understands. We then talked about how to get them loved by creating designs that connect with real buyers using emotion and identity. And today, we're layering on the icing of the cake, getting your listings sold. This is the piece that turns I like it into I'm buying it right now. Because when your customer already sees your product and loves it, the last piece of the puzzle is making sure your listing builds enough trust, clarity, and confidence to close the sale. And that's what we're diving into for this video. I'll show you exactly how to use visuals and mockups that actually sell, avoid overwhelming buyers with too many options, price with confidence but not gimmicks, and optimize your descriptions so customers don't just click in, they check out. Now, before we get into the practical how-tos, we need to zoom out for a second, because the biggest mistake I see when it comes to optimizing listings is this. Sellers are thinking like sellers, not like customers. And that disconnect is what keeps so many shops stuck in a cycle of views with no sales. Here's what I mean. As a seller, it's tempting to focus on all the wrong things. You overanalyze your description, or you spend hours coming up with just the right branding, or you tweak your mockup 6 different times trying to find the perfect angle, or you obsess over whether to use a comma or a dash in your title. But your customer, they're just over here trying to answer one simple question. Is this the right product for me or the person I'm buying for? That's it. That's the real test. And they're making that decision in about 3 seconds or less. So everything we're about to talk about in this video, your images, your price point, your shipping, your description, is through that lens. Because when you start to think like your customer, you stop overthinking all the minor details and start optimizing the things that actually lead to sales. You do a little less thinking, why isn't anyone buying? And a little more asking, have I made this decision easy for them? Or is there something else I could experiment with and try? That's how you build listings that get sold. So let's start with visuals, because when it comes to getting the sale, this is really where it all begins. Online shopping is a visual activity. Yes, SEO helps get you found. Yes, design helps get you loved. But how you bring it together with your visuals are what give it that extra little glow up to turn a scroller into a buyer. If your visuals don't stop the scroll, game over. So here's how to make your visuals count. Number 1, start with a strong thumbnail. This is your first impression, so make it count. Your first listing image needs to be your best one. It needs to be visually attractive and aesthetic, meaning this is not the time to skimp or go cheap on mockups. Your main image should be bright and clear. I typically recommend a modern aesthetic and easy to understand at a glance. If a customer can't read the design or tell what your product is, you've already lost the plot, my friend. For apparel, if I'm creating a smaller design like something minimalist or embroidered or a pocket design, I often use flat lays with the design clearly visible on the front. Flat lays give the illusion of being closer to the viewer. If it's a large design, don't force it onto a flat lay, especially if it's not a realistic view of what the design will actually look like. Instead, I'll use a model photo that shows more styling and allows the customer to better picture the item on themselves or the person they're buying for. For apparel, I avoid AI mockups. And if you take nothing else from this video, make it this. Particularly if you sell apparel. Do not spend all of your precious time on designs and then go mucking it up just by using your provider's mockups. They are terrible. They will not convert. Mockups are intended to elevate your design and also show a level of professionalism, which goes back to building that trust with the buyer. You need to make it look like you put in an effort. I will leave a list of some of my favorites for you in the description for mockup shops. One of my favorites in particular is Mocks by Little Feather on Etsy. Michelle, the owner, does fabulous work and is regularly adding new styles and products and has been kind enough to provide me with an exclusive discount code to share with you. You can find it in the description along with a few other shops that use real people and real products. Next, for your visuals, use listing videos. And no, this does not need to be complicated. You don't need to shoot fancy B-roll or hire a video editor. In fact, most of my own listing videos are simply a series of mockups I've already made that have been converted into a quick slideshow. Canva is a great place to do this because I use the mockup templates that I've already created and used for listing images, and I turn those into short little videos with just a few clicks. I will link my mockup video for you from my batching series that shows this process. And more recently, if I've created a listing in Anywhere POD, I literally just click one button to generate a short video for me. Done. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more about this platform. But that tiny little movement in your listing is often just enough to catch the customer's attention and make them stick around. And while we're here, I do not recommend using sizing chart videos in your video slot. And here's why. I get it. It's easy because you can just reuse it and save yourself some time as a seller. Right? Wrong. Remember, we're looking at this through the lens of a customer and their experience. And that's the problem. When a customer is scrolling and all the thumbnails start moving as they hover over them, they all look the same. There is nothing that gets them to linger or pause on yours. And think about your own shopping habits. When you see something interesting, is your first thought, gee, I wonder what the size chart looks like that I can't actually read in a tiny scrolling video anyway? No. It's probably more like, I wonder what other colors it comes in, or what the design would look like on a different style. Your listing video should show off your product with your design. Stop giving away your prime visual real estate to stats that can still be a static image. Next, don't overwhelm your customer with too many options. And this is a big one. We think we're doing the customer a favor by giving them every possible option. But too many choices can actually kill conversions. Let me explain. It's called decision fatigue, and it's a very real thing that's been studied, particularly as it relates to retail customers. Too many options can lead a customer to making no decision at all. And that's not what we're after. Same thing if you make personalization really complicated with too many things they have to remember to enter in the personalization box. A confused customer doesn't click buy, they click out. So when it comes to options, I recommend typically 6 to 8 color options max for apparel. a few thoughtfully chosen fonts and colors if you're offering more extended personalization, and when you can, showing product variations visually, not just a color swatch chart. And by this, I mean having a listing photo that shows the design on that specific option. Etsy allows you to even link color variations to listing photos as well. And finally, add info cards for clarity. At a minimum, I include a sizing chart. And depending on the product and how much space I have left in my listing photo slots, I will sometimes include things like a color options guide if it helps decision making, and some other bonus things like social proof slides, care instructions, or additional product details. When you make it easier for the customer to imagine what they're getting and minimize hesitation, you reduce confusion and increase the chance they'll click that add to cart button. Now, let's talk money. And I get it. While pricing and shipping feel like the biggest hurdles, here's the truth. Sellers obsess over these way more than customers do. What customers actually care about is feeling like what they're buying is worth the price. It's value. And my personal stance on pricing is that I am not here to cater to the bargain hunters. They're not my customers. I'm here to run a business and make a profit. So instead of overthinking this part, here's how I recommend you approach it. First, pricing that's strategic and not desperate. Yes, we're on Etsy and there's a huge spectrum of pricing and competition. But no, you are not required to race to the bottom on price. Here's my own approach. First, I look at what others are pricing at in my niches. I typically price in the top roughly third for my niche. Not the highest, but definitely not the lowest either. I also use a profit calculator to make sure I have enough margin built in based on my production costs and what I'm charging the customer so that I can run regular sales to trigger that Etsy countdown timer on listings. This creates a sense of urgency for buyers, and yes, this is one that actually does work. Pricing really high can turn off buyers, especially if you are a new shop that doesn't have an established track record yet. But I don't believe in pricing at the bottom because that can also lower the perceived value of your listing as well. Ultimately, there is no one singular right price, and there could really be a lot of variables, as I'm sure you've seen on Etsy. So typically, I set my price as a starting place, and then I will test and experiment to see what ultimately works the best in my shop with my niche and products. Keep in mind that when researching the pricing in your niche, you also need to be aware of what other sellers are doing. Some sellers are handmade sellers, meaning they're able to buy blank products in bulk and make final products themselves at lower margins. Some sellers use higher shipping costs to offset lower base pricing. Some sellers are pricing at break-even or razor-thin margins, and in doing so, are banking on volume of sales to make up for the very low margins. Again, that's all fine, but it's not the way I prefer to run my own business, and it's not the recommendations that I make. And some sellers use what's often considered more deceptive pricing, like making a baby onesie $8 just to lure people in when the actual design is clearly for adults. To be clear, I'm not talking about group listings that are specifically intended to be sold in multiple sizes. I'm talking about clickbait where the listing for a Comfort Colors t-shirt looks like it's only costing $8 for the buyer when it's really not. And yes, some sellers have no problem using this clickbait tactic. You do you, but I'm here to tell you that you absolutely don't need to do that to make sales. You can absolutely be profitable, ethical, and feel good about your strategy and still be successful. I've generated tens of thousands of sales and had many bestsellers without ever playing questionable pricing games. So hear me when I say you don't need to race to the bottom to win. Customers will pay more for designs that are clear, relevant, and that they connect with. This is why I placed so much emphasis on it during our Getting Loved episode. Give customers a reason to choose you. Now, along with pricing is shipping that makes sense. Etsy's current guidance prioritizes listings with under $6 shipping for visibility. This could mean free shipping as well as shipping as high as $5.99. I personally do charge shipping, usually in the neighborhood of $4.50 to $5.99, depending on the product. Remember, shipping isn't free for anybody. You are charged by your print provider for the cost of shipping a product to your customer, which means you need to either roll that amount into your pricing or pass it along directly in the form of shipping paid by your customer. Otherwise, you will be losing money. Related to this, a little thing that many sellers don't realize is that Etsy currently has an invite-only customer program in beta called Etsy Insiders, which grants buyers in the paid program perks like free shipping that Etsy pays for, which means you can charge shipping and plenty of customers are still getting it for free on Etsy's dime. It is no cost to you as a seller. Now, there's no guarantee that Etsy will fully adopt this program. It's been around for a little while now, but I will say that I've noticed an uptick in the number of insider purchases that I've had in my own shop, so I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes more widely adopted. So just keep that in mind. Now, with all of this said, some of you might be rage yelling at the screen right now but what about the actual price to set for my listings? But should I do free shipping? Or should I offer returns? Or I think I need a loss leader. What should I do with that? And here's my bold continued claim on this, my friend. If you are stuck spinning on them, you are probably overthinking them. I'm not saying don't think about them, but don't let your decisions on pricing and shipping consume you. Do your research, make a good attempt at a decision, and then move forward. And if you decide down the road that you want to change your strategy in any of these areas, I have good news for you. Your business, your rules. You are not locked in to any of the decisions that you make today. As an entrepreneur, this is your business, and you get to absolutely change things in whatever way works for you and your customers. But you will never know what works or doesn't unless you make a decision, implement it, and then move on. Embrace the messy when it comes to making decisions like these, and list, learn, and repeat. Next, let's dive into the last key component of your listing, the part many sellers either overcomplicate or totally ignore: the description. Here is a wild but true fact. Half of your customers don't read your listing description, especially for obvious products like t-shirts or mugs. They're not that complicated and they don't require a whole lot of explanation, so oftentimes customers just skim right over it. So then why do the descriptions still matter? Because for the other half of buyers who do click into it, your job is to answer questions, remove doubt, and make the purchase feel easy. Let's break this down. First, start with 1 to 2 clear sentences in your description. Right up top, write a short intro that clearly states what the product is and includes your primary keywords for context. Etsy tells us that they don't use their descriptions for direct search query matching, but they do use them for context to learn about your listing and who it's intended for. So a quick way to do this is to take your research keywords that we talked about in the Getting Seen episode, plug those into ChatGPT along with what the product is, and then ask it to write you a 1 to 2 sentence product description. That's all you need. Then we want to add some additional details. Nobody wants to read a novel in your description though, so after your short intro, go straight into helpful bullet points. Include things like any additional personalization instructions, if applicable, product details like fabric, sizing, fit, the things that you would typically get from your print provider, care instructions, as well as information on production and shipping and what the customer can expect, especially if you're using print on demand. I'm someone who tends to be very transparent about this, and I find that helps make the interaction that much better if for some reason there's issues down the road. So I'm very upfront in my description to say that I work with a production partner. When you use this type of format, it's much easier for the customer to skim, and nobody needs poetic paragraphs about how it's the perfect gift for their soulmate's cousin's dog groomer. And definitely don't try to over-explain the emotion. If your design already connects with them, let it breathe. We're highlighting here, not gushing. Your product and design are doing the heavy lifting. The rest here is just about supporting your product. Overall, your goal is to reduce hesitation. Think of this as answering the customer's unspoken questions before they ask them. It's a small touch, but it adds to the customer experience we've been building this whole time. And finally, we've spent this whole video talking about how to optimize your individual listings to get sold. But let's not forget, your shop as a whole matters too. Etsy looks at your overall shop quality and completeness as part of how it ranks your listings. But more importantly, your customers sometimes look at it as a trust signal before they buy. So here are a few quick shop-wide tweaks that can help. Number 1, make sure you have a banner, logo, and filled in about section. In your banner, I recommend highlighting a couple images of your products and periodically rotating them. Canva has great templates for these, and I also provide some in my Pod Essentials and Simply Thrive memberships. Number 2, complete your shop policies and FAQ section to reduce buyer hesitation. Shop policies can be completed from your Etsy seller settings, and your FAQs are in a sneaky little area when you edit your shop appearance. Your FAQs are a great place to reiterate your production and shipping information, set some customer expectations related to that, gift messaging options, care instructions, what to do if they need any support for issues, that sort of thing. And number 3, organize your shop sections by niche identity, not just product type. For example, instead of a mugs section filled with random designs that a customer would have to dig through, try something like teacher appreciation or sports mom gifts, and all listings related to those niches and customer identities would go in those sections. That way, when a customer finds one of your products in search and clicks into your shop, you want them to be able to easily find and navigate to see more relevant options. Your shop sections also help to reinforce your SEO. I know this seems like such a small thing, but I've had tons of customers buy more than one item, not because I bundled them or because they were a group listing, but because I made it easy for them to find more things they love. A little intentionality goes a long way. Okay, deep breath. At this point in this Seen, Loved, and Sold series, we walked through a full transformation. You learned how to get seen through intentional niche targeting and SEO that aligns with real demand. You saw how to get loved by designing for connection and customer identity. And today, you discovered how to get sold by optimizing your listing through the lens of the customer experience. And now it's time to take all of that knowledge and actually do something with it. And that's what we'll wrap up this series with in the next video. But here's the thing I want to leave you with today. Take action. Stop obsessing over every detail. You do not need to spend 3 hours trying to choose the perfect mockup, or rewrite your title 10 times to squeeze in one more keyword, or analyze your pricing strategy to death. That's where most sellers get stuck and stay stuck. Instead, what actually works is building intentional listings that speak to the right customer, connect with intention, and make the purchase decision easier. That's the magic combo. If you want extra support making sure your listings are set up for success, I've put together a free listing optimization guide for you. You'll get my quick checklist for conversion and optimization tips for titles, tags, pricing, and photos. Just check the link in the description and it's yours for free. Now that you understand the what and the why, Our next and final episode in the series is all about the how. I'm going to show you how to turn this strategy into a repeatable listing plan to scale into your niches, reduce overwhelm with focused listing badges, and continue building your Etsy business with clarity and confidence. So if you haven't already, take 2 seconds and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video in the series. And as always, if you're looking for even more support beyond this series, don't forget that I've got you covered inside my BizBot Besties group, where you'll find a collection of powerful AI tools I created for print-on-demand sellers like you, including tools for niches, designs, SEO, planning and time management, and more. Or check out the Pod Essentials mini membership, where I provide niche and trend reports each month to keep your shop growing. And of course, if you're ready for full strategy and support from me and a community of growth-minded sellers, my Simply Thrive membership is the best place to plug into deeper learning, resources, and support. Everything is linked below. Feel free to explore what fits best for where you are in your journey. My goal is to make this process easier for you because I know how overwhelming it can feel when you're just getting started or trying to get back on track. In the meantime, stay focused, my friends, keep taking action, and never stop pursuing excellence in your business. Thanks for watching. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you in the next one.